Yeah.
What they do with it?
What they do with it, only
That's
God
it.
would know.
Make sure you lock your phone.
Yeah.
Do you think these killings and interactions, going back to carding and even killings, Jigga, do you think, Bueller, do you think that these are racially motivated?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of scary. They have this whole idea that the police are told, like, to stare down anybody of color, catch them on the road, and flag them down and start just dewato because they're up to no good automatically. So that's the rhetoric, the script that they're being read. He dresses like this, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's sad because it starts at an early age. Kids at a young age are picked out because of their attire, because of their skin color and everything. And it's 100% racial. Yeah.
And the problem is they put a black man as a precedent, and they think, okay, black people should be happy. Do you know what I mean? Black people, they're still begging for their self-dignity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We were happy for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah.
Why were you happy in 10 minutes? Oh, Obama.
After a while, man.
Sorry, go ahead.
The point about being racially motivated, and people were giving his girlfriend a hard time based on how she reacted. The part of the video that was surprising to me was how the officer was reacting. The fact that as he was yelling back, he shot this man, and you can sense fear in his voice.
Yelling.
He's outside the window. He's still got his gun pointed at a man who's dying and dead. There's fear in his voice, right? So, like, why is everybody focused on... Everybody here, look at yourself in the mirror. How many people have been in a car when somebody that you love has been shot? We can't judge somebody else's reaction.
Absolutely.
Her reaction, free. But this man, he shot this guy 4 or 5 times. He's dying. And did he try to give him CPR? Did he try to resuscitate him? No. What did he do? He pointed his gun still at him, and you could sense the fear in his voice. Why isn't everybody outraged about his? It's racial emotion.
I think it's more of a device, though, right? So when they have her reaction and stuff, that shouldn't even be a topic of discussion. So you have people.
She wasn't in the wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, like the tone that's set, right? So it's taking away it's taking away from the shock of what happened. You know what I mean? And people should be outraged about that, not her reaction. You know what I mean?
Then the police officer is gonna go get what they call like trauma therapy and post-traumatic. I'm like, bro, you walked into this job eyes wide open. You wanted a gun. You wanted to shoot. Practice range and all their when they go to practice range and they shoot, like, why does the target always have to be a black? You know what I mean? It's like subconsciously. Like, the thing is, like, how professional is that as an officer of the law to be acting out of fear? Right. The most calm person should be you. You know what I mean?
The whole situation.
Is it the same reason that whenever these shootings happen, again, the dialogue is, that person had it coming. He acted aggressively. He resisted arrest. It's always excusing, almost accepting. Like,
after the man in Minnesota got shot, the first thing the news ran with, he had been pulled over 30 times. A week later, they come out, he'd been pulled over 30 times for petty things. So, like, they're looking for something. And again, it's building this narrative and trying to reinforce the stereotype that black men are aggressive. They're a threat. So this cop was justified in shooting him because he's a threat. He said he had a gun. Nothing else needs to matter. He shoot, right? And
but even going back to that, even, like, let's just say, for argument's sake, that some of these guys, these casualties, were aggressive. It is not not a police officer's job to kill. De-escalate the situation, disarm, subdue the perp, you know what I mean? All that good stuff. But to murder, it's just... That's just extra.
I've always wondered, and like I said, guys, I'm very naive, and sometimes I just wonder, and this is why we're having these discussions, for you to educate me and our viewers and educate each other, right? I've always wondered why cops I rarely see a cop shooting a suspect or somebody they pull in the leg or the foot or the hand. If I get shot in the hand, guys, I'm crying. So, right? For real.
Cops are taught to shoot to kill. So this is how they're trained, right? So they're only justified to pull out their pistol if their life is in danger. And if their life's in danger, they shoot to kill. There's none of this demobilize. If we as a society want to change that, all of cops in Ontario are trained in one school. They all come through one funnel. Right. You got to change how they're trained. Yeah. But, like, you're never going to find a cop being like, I'm going to shoot him in the ankle and the kneecap. If they pull out their gun, they're justified, their life is in threat, they can kill. They don't have to answer to that. It's fucked up, but that's the
actual truth. They can actually kill if they feel 100% that their life
Yeah.
is a threat.
And
Look-
how do
look
you
what happened
prove
to-
that?
so-
You can't prove that.
Justifying that.
So I'm
Like-
more scared of a cop who's scared. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
like-
more scared of a cop who's scared. You know,
Yes.
if I'm
Like-
more scared of a cop who's scared. You know,
Yes.
Yeah. A
If
cop
I see
who's
a cop who's scared, I'm gonna talk.
I'm
to him about
terrified.
comedy, you know?
That's terrorism.
That's the one I worry
Terrified.
about.
You guys, you're sorry. Go ahead, Samantha.
I was gonna say something about. I don't make police policies, but if I would say one thing that would make the situation better, perhaps we can talk about this later on in the episode. But I feel like police officers oftentimes they're afraid of the people that they're policing.
Yeah.
They are foreigners, aliens to the community in which they're policing. And one thing that I would suggest to anyone who's watching who has power is to make sure you hire officers from that community who have roots in that community. Perhaps went to high school there, they were volunteered at the community center.
Right.
We don't want some dude from Orangeville coming to Rexdale to shoot black people. You know what I mean? We don't want that. Rather have people hire some Somalis. How many Somalis are in the Toronto police force?
Yeah.
Like you could probably count them on one hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have a Somali liaison group, and there's no Somalis in there. You know what I mean? They have budgets of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like, yo, they're acting all wassy and weirdos, bro. I don't know what to say.
Well, the whole hiring thing, Samantha, I think what they often do is, they say, okay, we're going to hire a minority, but in the lens of what? In the lens of diversity. So when you hear this bullshit diversity thing, it's always about like 100 people that look the same and one motherfucking person that look different than. You know,
And that's what they call diversity.
That's what they call diversity, and that's what today is. You know what I mean? And unless it's a systemic issue, and if you do not address from systemic point of view, then it's a problem. With respect to what's taking place in U.S., black people should go after the government. I think they should hold accountable government of the United motherfucking States of America.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Because they're fucking responsible of what's happened to black people.
Yeah.
They've been enslaving them for 400 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the government of America, one cannot even acknowledge what black people were done to them. And what happened to the natives? They stole their fucking land.
Unspeakable.
And what is it? What have they done to them?
Yeah.
They eradicated them from freaking U.S. You know what I mean? And that's what they do. And this whole thing is about system.
Yeah.
It is a system.
What are your, as you can clearly see, you're all men of color. What are your interactions with police officers when you do get pulled over, if you ever, or even carded,
Yeah.
right? So what are your interactions like?
Well,
What are those kind
I've
of
had a lot of interactions with the police.
Good or bad? Those
I had a lot of bad interactions with the police. But at the same time, one problem that I felt that I didn't understand was my rights growing up.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do not understand their rights. We automatically assume when those red and blue lights go like this, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Even when I'm driving, this happens naturally to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that moment where you see the red and blue and you're like, oh my God,
What'd I do?
You get ready.
That's me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, you just get ready because of the fact that, I don't know, it's the way I grew up.
Yeah.
And I believe a lot of people don't know their rights.
Yeah.
When I started, if a police officer do carding, like carding was a lot.
Right.
Carding happens everywhere.
Right.
And they'll even tell you, hey, listen, I have the right to ask you for your ID.
Okay.
So I'm like, not knowing everything, I'm just gonna give them my ID. And I'm thinking it's normal.
Right.
But what they're doing is now, they're getting me in a certain neighborhood in Toronto.
Yeah.
And they're figuring out, okay, this guy is in this area.
Right.
Yes.
He's always in this area.
Yeah.
And he's
And then
associated
they're gonna
with
ask
this
all
other
my
guy.
buddies.
Yeah.
Right.
And all my friends are gonna get ID.
Exactly.
But that was when I was younger. And that's one thing that I really think we should step on, and the US really has a big problem with, is a lot of children do not know their rights.
Right.
We're too busy learning useless things in school.
Exactly.
Financial literacy, your rights, all like the education system as a whole is fucked up. But in this comment, you're right.
Yeah.
Like why, like what's the World War II and World War I history going to do? It'd much rather be valuable to know what your rights are, so you know what you get with interacting with.
So
police,
what
but-
those are? So if you were to tip somebody, and again,
Yeah.
it's really sad that we even have to have this conversation on how to act when you get pulled over. But just looking at that, one of the tips you said was know your rights.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's simple. Like
know your rights.
if there's no situation, just name an ID. That's it, and don't carry on the conversation further than that.
Okay.
So name an ID and address. That's it. That's all you're legally obliged to give.
Right.
After that, it's just I don't have to answer your questions, officer. Are we done here?
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, the
So
thing-
what the, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yo, pull out your phones. If you have like 5 people in your car, everyone phones out right now. Record this person right away, and you have the right to do that.
Yeah.
Because when they have 5 eyes on them, right? Plus millions of people who it could go viral. You know what I mean? They're like, okay, yeah, and they'll just give you back your paper, and so everything's okay, and they'll just move along, and that's happened to me all the time.
I think
all the time it
education to me is key. I think,
Okay.
you need to educate. As a father, I gotta educate my 3 boys, all
Right.
my five children, and I think not all cops bad. I mean,
Right.
I don't believe all cops are assholes. For
Right.
sure. I mean, they're not evil, all of them. I think there are a lot of good cops.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of them are good. A lot of them, they're doing their job. But they're like those like few a-holes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That really ruin for the rest of the cops.
Right.
Here in Canada, I really do not want to compare Canada to America.
No.
America is a fucked up country.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
You know
So
what I mean?
bringing it. So speaking of that, right? You spoke about slavery a minute ago. U.S. is right across the street for us, right? Not literally, but you get it. We're neighbors. Do you understand what I mean? And so systemic racism has always been part of the U.S. history. So, for example, 12% of the population of America are blacks. Okay, 1 in 3 men can expect to go to prison in their lifetime. 1 in 3 black men can expect to go to prison in their lifetime. Students of color also face harsher punishments compared to their white peers.
Suspended,
And lastly, talking about mass incarceration, again, making money from that. Once convicted, a black offender can receive a longer sentence compared to a white offender.
Yeah.
Right? So my question to you is, going back to Canada, is there systemic racism in Canada?
Absolutely, for sure, absolutely. There's systemic
Yeah.
racism here. As exactly what you were saying, there's people who will get. For example, when it comes to sentencing law, like you have a trial date, you get convicted. Then you have another date called sentencing date
Right.
to find out how bad it's gonna be.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're convicted, okay. But then what happens is based on how much they think that they can rehabilitate you. So for example, they think that, oh, you know that you're not that messed up. We can leave you in your community. Perhaps you can keep your day job. You can go to jail maybe like a day a week. Maybe you go to spend your prison sentence on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. That way you can keep your life together. But then the thing is, they see a black person. Oh, no, this guy is terrible. We need to remove him from the community right now.
In Canada?
Yeah, and here in Canada too. And in general, we incarcerate black people more in Canada than in the United States, for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
the sentences are longer, for sure.
In addition to what,
Sorry, Beeler. I'll get right back to you. Go ahead, Beeler.
I'm sorry. No, I see what you're saying, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that. It's no, because okay, we understand the United States is institutionally racist, right? Like that's a whole different ballgame. Here, I figured that for Canada's more like diet racism. You know what I mean? It's
Diet.
no, for real. Like,
Racism light.
It's racism light. You know what I mean?
Racism light.
It's more in tone, right? Like okay, like even harsher sentencing. I don't think that's the thing. I've from what I've seen, from all the cases I've seen go awry, people get convicted.
Yeah.
They don't get crucified here like they do in the States. Not
Uh-huh.
even close. It's apples and oranges. Not two different fruits.
The
two different
charges,
fruits. You know what I mean?
charges in America going on that.
And that's the
heavy.
thing. So that being said, you know what I mean? It's racism light. So for here, it's like Canada has the reputation of being multicultural, right? So there's this tone of we're all accepting. We're not like the States. So already there's a kind of chip on the Canadian shoulder that's saying we're not like the States.
We're better than that.
Yeah.
So if there is prejudice, and when you call out that prejudice, you get that he's pulling the race card. So there's no real. They don't give you validity there. They take away from it because the idea of itself that we are multicultural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So nobody's gonna believe your cries for help or anything like that. Maybe it's not to the degree of the United States what's happening, but it's still a thing, and that doesn't mean it shouldn't be looked at and addressed accordingly. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's my problem with Canada. But other than that, it's diet racism out
Yeah.
here. It's
So
not.
Abdel Fattah and then Kareem, I know you both.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
well, I think knowledge is power and power is knowledge. I think a lot of black people, like the regular black person, when you talk to them, they all speak high of Bill Clinton. And that piece of shit called Bill Clinton put more people in prison than any other motherfucking American president.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I mean, he crowded American jails. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, if you do not do your research or
Right.
you know what I mean, you'll never know how the system treats black people.
Right.
Here in Canada, like systemic racism, of course. I mean, the prime example is this country, this beautiful country. I love Canada with all my heart because Canada gave all of us, everything that we have today.
Right.
I always ask myself, how the hell there's too many holidays in Canada, but there's none for the natives, the indigenous. There's not one motherfucking holiday.
I don't know.
There is none.
I don't know if it's a
But you see
statutory
how-
holiday.
But it's not a national.
It's a national. It's not national. Yeah.
We're talking about national holiday.
Holiday.
National holiday.
But you guys see how it was said? Yeah, they have Aboriginal, like just that tone alone. Yeah, it's not cool.
Yo, for the longest time, it was called Department of Indian Affairs, and they're not even from India. That's a diss.
Yeah, I've been with
Oh,
them.
sorry.
Once we address that,
Yeah.
once like we truly address, every person, every life
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
That every person in Canada, or America,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Their lives matter, or everybody. Like for instance, within, and I'm not going after race, white
No, no,
people, particularly.
No.
But they have been enjoying the unearned white privilege. The rest don't have no privilege.
Right.
So if there's a privilege, if some people, some certain people of the society are privileged, well, the rest are underprivileged.
So-
And that gap has not been preached.
Yeah. Go ahead, Karim.
So I do think on a scale side of things, the U.S. is a population of 300 million. We're 30 million. So systemic racism on light, it should be light because we're a tenth the size, right? So but systemic racism does exist in Canada, and to me, it's echoed most a lot of the negative press that Black Lives Matter TO has been getting in Toronto.
Yes.
So anybody who utters the words "all lives matter," they're self-identifying as somebody who's part of the reason that systemic racism exists.
Right.
Right. The fact, so like anybody you hear that, like they're doing themselves, they're doing you justice. They're self-identifying, saying, "I'm part of the problem.
Yeah.
I don't believe that this sort of thing exists." Right.
Right.
And that whole rhetoric is just so negative because when somebody says Black Lives Matter, there's an inference of the word "to" at the end of it. Just like when you're a kid, your mom says, eat your vegetables. She doesn't, when she says that, she doesn't mean don't eat your chicken, don't eat your protein, if there's a to at the end of it. And it's there. So
Common sense.
It's common sense. So people, when they take, it doesn't say only Black Lives Matter. So when they're trying to devalue the movement and the organization by saying all lives matter, again, they're self-identifying, I'm part of the problem, systemic racism does exist.
Yeah.
So take note of those people, keep them out of your close circle, you know what I mean? Like it's honest. Like they're not there to help. They're
I had a little argument with someone about that because they're like, "Oh, all lives matter, don't you care?" And I'm trying to say, and I just got mad. I'm like, you know what? The way things are in the States, all lives don't matter because Black lives don't matter. So
Right.
if Black lives don't matter, then by definition, all lives don't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So this is
All those that say that they're in denial.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Reading
They're in denial
comprehension
because they're
101.
really, they never acknowledge what black
So-
people went through.
But a question I have is, what's the point of incarcerating, mass incarceration? What's the policy objective? How does that help
Money.
any country? You know what I mean, there's money. Okay,
It's
there's
money. It's
money
private
involved
business.
too.
Business, huh?
Yeah.
So this seems like, earlier what I said is out of the U.S. population, 12% are black. So it's a minority. We all agree with that,
Yeah.
right? So discrimination and racism usually happens towards minorities. It's never the majority that gets discriminated against, right? So isn't this the norm? And when I say that, right, let me be very